Well, these National Congress only come around every 5 years, and at this point, after having served 2 terms, President Xi should be standing down as president. But instead, after a few years ago scrapping presidency term limits, he's about to take on an unprecedented 3rd term, potentially 4th term as the leader of China, making him the longest-serving leader since Mao Zedong. And over the next 10 days at this party Congress, we expect to hear a lot about what he has achieved in his first 10 decades in charge and potentially what he will go on to do in his next 10 years. He is now being described as the core leader. A phrase they like to repeat is that east, west, north and south, the party is at the centre, and Xi Jinping is very much being presented as the embodiment of the party. And this Congress will be very much a celebration of him, the direction he has taken the country in so far, and the direction that he is going to take it in the future.
So with all eyes on Xi Jinping, how does the population feel about him having another term?
Well, it's inherently hard to judge the opinion of the population, a population of 1.4 billion people. There are no opinion polls here. There's no popularity rating for Xi Jinping himself. And when we do speak to people, when we do ask them those kinds of questions, it's very hard for them to be honest because of the consequences of going off message. But just to give us an indication, there was a small protest in Beijing yesterday. A lone protester hung 2 protest banners on a motorway flyover, and one of those protest banners, they described Xi Jinping as a dictator and a traitor. The other protested against the zero COVID measures, the lack of freedoms, the lack of vote in the country. That was just one man, so he doesn't represent 1.4 billion people, but he does speak to some discontent there is in the country at the moment, particularly directed towards that zero COVID policy.
Can we expect any clues about China's future from this Congress?
Well, I think it's very much continuation, as I say. President Xi is the continuation candidate, and I think he will continue his policy of control, of surveillance, of stability here in China. Economic growth, common prosperity is what they say is the priority here. And of course, on the international stage, we've seen him pitch China against the United States and align himself with Russia. And I think that is going to continue in the future, and potentially following this Congress, we might see an accelerated move towards reunification with Taiwan.
Wow. So the global tensions with China, as you say, have grown with the Uyghurs as well. There's the South China Sea. Are you saying that Xi might be emboldened with a fresh mandate?
Absolutely. He has a greater mandate. His power is unchecked and it is now unlimited. So he is free to pursue those policies. And we've seen him repeatedly in major speeches in recent years declare that reunification with Taiwan is a top priority. He views Taiwan almost as a missing piece of the jigsaw. Other so-called restive provinces, Tibet, Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Macau, have all been brought back under the umbrella of the motherland, and the only missing piece of the jigsaw is Taiwan. And as we saw over the summer, tensions there are rising, and that is a worry not just for people here but across the region.
You mentioned before the zero COVID policy that Xi Jinping has implemented in China regards COVID. Is there any chance that that's going to change after this Congress?
Well, the messaging this week has much been that it is not going to change. The top COVID expert in the country has said there is no timeline to remove any of the restrictions. And in fact, they say that the country will not coexist with the virus. They like to say it will not lie down as other countries have to the virus and allow it to spread uncontrolled. So I believe that these restrictions are going to continue into the new year, potentially into the summer, despite the devastating effects that they are having on the economy. The economy is close to contracting for the first time. Youth unemployment is at a record high, but the country says that the people's lives must be the priority, and the president himself has said that persistence is victory.